Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hi!
Hello! We're here again at the end. I don't know what that was, but here we are.
I liked it. It was good. I liked it. I was saying to Annabelle before we started, I think this is my favourite episode of Supernatural. I think it is. Yeah.
It's a good one. It is a good one. Though I have so many questions about this episode.
Yes, I'm excited for this now.
Yeah, like I guess I can start asking it when we get to the points where I have questions, because
Before we start, I thought, how are we saying the name of the camp? Right, I've literally read it so many times and watched it, and I still can't say it. So I'm gonna say Camp Chikua.
I'm gonna call it Camp C. That's all I'm gonna call it. I'm not even gonna try.
I don't know why. It's like a mental block. Like, I listened to him say it about 5 times. I was like, why? I can't get my mouth around it. It's the camp, the camp that they go to.
It's the camp. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this episode, I think I said it at the end of last week's episode, if it's still there. If Free to Be You and Me like spawned 100 fics, I mean, this one is in the thousands, like the future AU. Yeah. I mean, I think, and I might be wrong on this, that this episode is responsible for the longest Supernatural fan fiction.
Okay.
I'll maybe try and link it or something. I'll send you the link, Annabelle, maybe you can add it in. But yeah, I think it's the longest one written, which is nice. It's long.
It became its own thing, really.
Yeah, pretty much became its own thing. So that's exciting. And I mean, to be honest, they basically opened up like a whole new universe for people to explore. So I mean, it makes sense. And who doesn't love post-apocalyptic AUs? Like, it's pretty good. Right?
I think that's what you were saying at the end of last week's episode as well.
Exactly.
That was like your favourite genre.
It is. I love it so much. It's probably why it's my favourite episode. Yeah. And also the acting in this episode is pretty good from everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. None of them feel like... They all feel like they would be in the future.
Yeah, totally.
You know? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they seem like themselves, but not really.
Yeah. It's good because you can tell the differences between them. I mean, like, because there's future Dean who's dressed basically the same as non-future Dean. I have to think about how we're going to do this one. And
I refer to as them as 2009 and 2014 Dean.
That makes total sense. Let's do that. Yeah, they're kind of dressed the same, but like, you can tell they're different people. It's kind of cool. I like it. Yeah.
Well, so one thing I noticed, and again, you'd brought this up last week, was how, you know, they're slowly stripping Dean of his like jewelry.
Yeah.
In this, he has nothing. Like, he doesn't have the rings, he doesn't have the necklace or anything. So it's kind of interesting that like they went with that.
Yeah, that is actually. It's just like broken down to like base Dean. Which, I mean, the car. We'll get to it. You know,
yeah, there's a lot to talk about on this one for sure. So this episode was written by Ben Edlund, your boy.
My boy!
And that's got to be a sticker. Like, I'll just get a picture of his face and it says "my boy."
My boy. Yeah.
And it was directed by Steve Boehm. Whatever. Boyum. Which he has done a lot of these like alternative universe episodes.
Yeah.
So he did In the Beginning. He did Dream a Little Dream of Me. He also did Crossroad Blues. and there was another one. Oh, and then he's got some more coming up as well, which are all like not in the current timeline, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That is actually. I wonder why they particularly choose him. Maybe he just enjoys that storyline.
He was the stunt coordinator on Apocalypse Now, so maybe he just likes these kind of like style of, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And yeah, there are moments in this that I really liked, directorially wise and like visually wise, especially in the beginning. And yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna leave it at that because, like I said, a lot of questions. I don't want to start asking them now because we're not even going to get into the episode if we do. So let's start with the recap. There was pretty much nothing from the last episode, which made me think what happened in the last episode. Like I couldn't really remember, which is really bad. But there you go. But it was talking about Croatoan, the cult, Dean being Michael's vessel, and then the only thing that did come from last episode was Lucifer confirming that Sam was his vessel. So we cut to now, and we see that we see the Impala drive up, and it's raining. And my first thought was everything looks better wet. And I don't know why that came to mind, but it did.
It's true.
It's true. Because the Impala looks amazing in the rain, and it's the slow pull up in the parking spot. It was just, I really missed the shots of the Impala, like not watching Supernatural, just coming back to it. I'm like, God, that car is beautiful.
I know.
I'm getting horny for a car. That's not good. Anyway, there's this religious man outside, and he's trying to get people to talk about, like, trying to get people to think about their souls. And he approaches Dean, and he says,
"Excuse me, friend, but have you taken time out to think about God's plan for you?"
Too freaking much, pal.
Yeah, he really has. He really has.
He knows it. He knows it.
So Dean's on the phone as he's walking through the motel room, and he's talking with, I at first thought it was Bobby,
Same.
just because they're talking about the cult. So I was like, oh, okay. So, but it was actually Cass. And Dean's basically like, dude, I have to sleep. Like, I'm a human. This is, I can't be thinking about the cult right at this moment. You're going to have to call me back another time. Give me 4 hours. And then
I'll just... wait here, then.
It's such a cute shot.
There's something in the posture. I've only really noticed it on a rewatch. There's something in Misha's posture that he does for Cass that makes him appear like smaller than he is. I don't know if he like bends his knees slightly or something, or like it's the hunched shoulders, but him standing out just like next to that road, he looks so sad and alone.
He really does. Sad and alone and confused. But I mean, where would he go?
He's just gonna stand there, right, waiting for him. And I mean, this moment is obviously in the fan fiction episode, the musical episode, 'cause there's that song, "I'll just wait here then." That's not the tune. That's not the tune. Because people do reference that one a lot as well. That's one of Cass's like most, I think, famous lines from Supernatural, is him waiting there for Dean. I like it. It's showing that like time has no meaning to Cass, right? He's an angel, so he's lived for millennia. It's fine, but also it's just like, it's so because he literally could just go anywhere else to wait. I love Cass in this episode. I love Misha in this episode. Just everything about it is amazing.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
So Dean is asleep in bed, and his phone starts to ring, and he assumes it's Cass, but it's actually Sam. I thought this was really kind of interesting that Sam basically shares the information it feels almost like instantly. Maybe he's had a little while to think about what he was going to say to Dean about this. Because he reveals that he's Lucifer's vessel to Dean over the phone. And he's like, well, what are we going to do about it? And Dean sort of turns that on Sam, says, what do you want to do about it? And Sam's like, I want back in. There's something about this episode that like is really difficult to place how much time has passed between the two of them.
Yes.
There's this comment from Sam saying, I want back in, which suggests to me that he's been out for months.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, Dean says something as well along the lines of like, you might be rusty. Well, you wouldn't be rusty after like 2 weeks.
Well, this is it, because talking about last week's episode, there was that like a week earlier thing, right? So we know at least a week has passed. But also the bar job that Sam had, like he was starting to look like pretty competent at it. Like he was good at like chopping the things and stuff. I don't know. There's a competency there that maybe suggested he'd been working there for a little while. I thought it was really interesting what you said about him bringing Dean straight away. I think you're right. I've never really pegged that before, because he said it's like 4 a.m. or something. And obviously Lucifer revealed himself to Sam at night while he was sleeping. So it would make sense that he woke up and rang him. Yeah, it's really...
And then Sam also says something which I didn't realize, that this is basically his journey for the rest of the series.
Oh, so we're back to revenge then, are we?
Yeah, because that worked out so well last time.
Not revenge. Redemption.
And truly, the rest of the series, not even a season, but the rest of the series, is him trying to get redemption for starting the apocalypse. Like, I feel like every decision he makes, he never makes a decision like he did in season 4 again.
No, you're right, actually. I mean, I think that was partly... I mean, even in season 15, you know, when he decides to basically sabotage their plot to kill God, like he's doing that for the same reasons as here, you know? He's thinking that he's saving the most amount of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's odd because Sam's almost like a shadow in this episode. Like we barely see him, but his presence is felt throughout it, I feel, which is really interesting. Yeah. No, I really like that. Not revenge, redemption. So badass.
It really is.
I mean, it turns out that you and me were the fire and the oil of the Armageddon.
You know, on that basis alone, we should just pick a hemisphere.
As they've said multiple times, and they've acknowledged multiple times, they're each other's weaknesses.
Yeah.
And that each supernatural being is gonna, you know, use one against the other. Like, use Sam against Dean or Dean against Sam. And that, you know, they have a better chance of dodging Lucifer and Michael if they just go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Dean just hangs up.
The line that whatever we have between us, love or family, whatever it is, they're always going to use it against us. I always think that's really interesting, especially when you look at the conversation at the end of this episode. Because it's almost like a complete 180. It's really, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
It's very good.
It's also true though that the thing is, like, the family and the love that I have between them is always going to be their weakness, but it's also like their biggest strength. I think that's the whole thing of Supernatural. It's like ultimately the fact that they just want to look out for each other so badly eventually like works out. It eventually works out. Like, it causes so many problems.
Well, we've also said this before, of that, like, when they're apart, they don't have the other to tell each other that they're being stupid and that they're about to make a bad decision. Like, it's not a great example of, like, you shouldn't be that codependent on people. It's not the greatest examples of relationships, but it's kind of is a nice sentiment, I guess.
And I mean, in this episode, we find out that, you know, Sam said yes to Lucifer when he wasn't with Dean, right?
Right.
So that's I think that's the biggest important takeaway that that Dean gets from this in the end. So, yeah. I will say as well, this conversation was had on a very shiny Motorola Razr. Did you see that phone?
Yes.
It should have been pink. Like, the pink one was the biggest selling one of those phones. So anyway.
I mean, at least Cass should have had a pink one, not realizing that, you know, color is a thing.
Yeah. He even did the thing where he nearly closed it with his chin. Do you remember doing that with a flip phone? Closing it with your chin? Yeah, anyway.
That's one thing that, like, this is one thing I love about going back and watching Supernatural, is seeing how, like, the technology changes through the seasons.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no obviously there'd be no acknowledgement of it, because you don't acknowledge new phones coming out and stuff like that. But, like, but what happened to Sam's BlackBerry? Because he wasn't on a BlackBerry.
Eventually
or Palm Pilot. Or whatever.
Yeah, I know, right? It's the same, like, for some reason I was watching one of the newer episodes of The Simpsons the other day, and they had, like, phones and tablets and stuff, and I was like, this is really weird. Like,
yeah.
It's really weird. Anyway.
We then cut to the morning, and Dean wakes up in, like, this burnt out hotel room. Like the mattress is gone. He's literally laying on, like, the springs.
Yeah.
And he walks over to the window and, like, looks out at this, like, apocalypse scene straight out of 28 Days Later. Like, that's the first thing that came to mind when I saw that. I was like, oh. So I looked up when it was, like, 28 Days Later came out in 2002, which I didn't think it was that long ago. But
I'm so old.
I don't remember watching it when I was 12. I must have watched it when I was, like, a little bit older. Like, I didn't think I saw it when it came out, but I know I've watched it.
One of the first zombie movies I ever watched at the cinema was Land of the Dead. Okay. Oh yeah, talking of cinemas, one of the things you do see on there is that the sign on the cinema says Route 666, or, like, now playing Route 666. Yeah. So yeah, Dean kind of looks around and he leaves. And he wanders around and he sees, like, this little girl. Right.
That was jelly that came out of her mouth, right?
Oh, it was grim. It was grim. She has, like, a teddy bear as well. It's horrible. He even says to her, little girl, little girl. No one says that. They've been like, oi.
Yeah, like, it. Now that you say that, it did feel really weird for him to say little girl. Like, I don't. He doesn't talk to children.
No, not really. not. Well, he was quite good with Ben and that kid from Dead in the Water. But he would. I don't know. I just feel like he would have been like, hey. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Also, Dean watches a lot of movies. Come on.
Yeah. He knows this movie. He knows this. I mean, he does call it out though, doesn't it? It's like, you know, it's the not talking is kind of creepy. So he called it before it happened, but, like, still.
I mean, to be fair, the way he approaches her is not like a human child. He's, like, approaching her like, what's it gonna be? So yeah, this little girl, like, goes to attack him, and he literally just, like, kind of one punches her unconscious. So yeah, that happened.
It does feel a little unnecessary. Like, this didn't need to happen at all. Like, they could have cut it and everything would have been fine.
Yeah. They just wanted to make it creepy, I guess. I was wondering, because obviously, like, the Croatoan virus is, like, the supernatural equivalent of zombies, pretty much, right? So it's known that this is reminiscent of The Walking Dead, which obviously came out later than this episode. Like, him seeing that little girl who's actually a zombie. I wonder if that's actually a reference to something, though, because it does come up a lot. And I was thinking maybe, like, Dawn of the Dead. I'm pretty sure there's a little girl zombie in Dawn of the Dead, right? Which is, like, a classic zombie movie. So maybe that's the reference.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, every horror movie has a creepy child in it.
I don't know, right? Why?
So I think it was just that. But like you said, Dean's watched all the movies.
Yeah.
So why would he even approach her, like, and not even in a way that is, like, helpful?
No, exactly. Yeah, it's just, like, really cautious. I mean, when he does eventually, like, drop her, he looks around and he sees, like, it says Croatoan. Who?
Yep.
Who's spray painting the Croatoan? Is it the Croatoan people, the Croats, or is it a warning from the people who have left.
I think it's a warning, right? Because of what happens with the army coming in. So it might be just like,
Yeah.
this is designated Croatoan zone. I don't know.
Or do you need to have the word somewhere for it to happen? Because in the original episode where the Croatoan virus is like starts, they see it as a sign that's like, I think the demons did it or something. So maybe it's like part of the ritual.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Anyway, loads of people run up, zombie people, and then some like soldiers turn up in a tank, and they start shooting everybody. They turn on some music, and "Do You Love Me" starts playing. I quite like that song. It's a good song.
So I have a question.
Yes.
And I don't know if this is one of my many questions I have for this episode. Are they using music differently in this season, or is it just because I haven't watched it in a long time that it's standing out to me? Because from starting up again, so 502, we had whatever song was playing when they were walking through the town. I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
So it's like the outdoor, and then suddenly it's playing from a car and they turn it off.
Yes. Yeah.
Last week we had Simple Man play over the top of action happening, and now we have it again. And I just think of what will be, I think, 2 Minutes to Midnight.
Yeah.
With Death. His song playing in such a like dramatic way.
Yeah.
Like, have they always used music like this, or is it just my brain being like, this is weird? Or not weird. It's not weird. I actually really enjoy how they're using music, and maybe that's why it's standing out to me.
The only episode I think they've used it like this is Bad Moon Rising, the end of season 1, when they're in the car. No, yeah, that's not the only name of the episode, but they're in the car right before they get hit by the truck, and it's "I feel a bad moon rising," and that is actually on the radio of the car, because when it gets hit, it like cuts out. But I think that's the only one I can think of. I wonder if it's because they started using classic rock. I mean, obviously Dean's into classic rock, right? But they started using it for their catch-ups, you know, the on the road, like Road So Far ones, and it kind of became like synonymous with Supernatural, like starting there. And I think maybe starting in season 4, they could get some more licenses, and we're like, yeah, why not use this in a more dramatic way? Now we've got some of the licenses for these.
I mean, I do think of Eye of the Tiger, which is definitely used in the same way as this.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, there's just something about, maybe it's just not as often. And but then they also had it in Faith with Don't Feel the Reaper.
That's true. So maybe they have, but yeah, maybe it wasn't as often in the first, because it's definitely been more in this season. You're right.
Maybe music has always been used in this way, but it's just coming back to it. It's something that I've noticed again.
Yeah, possibly. Let's go back and watch it again to find
I know.
So yeah, Dean like runs away. He manages not to get shot by the soldiers, though it looks like it's quite a close thing actually. Though he does kind of have plot armor, angelic protection in this episode.
Yeah.
So we see him kind of like running around, basically. He does eventually see a sign that says about it's a hot zone where he's just come from, the Croatoan virus. And the date is August the 1st, 2014. Dean's just left 2009, as we said. So, hey, it's the future. He manages to steal a car. He can't like get anyone on the phone, like the radio's not working. It does the panning thing that you know someone's going to appear.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I did think Zachariah was going to appear in the back for a minute, but he appears in the seat next to Dean, and he says, "Croatoan pandemic reaches Australia." Like he's the radio news anchor.
I thought I smelled your stink on this Back to the Future crap.
Zachariah has a newspaper as well that says President Palin defends bombing of Houston, and like, do you know what? There was a blissful few years where I forgot Sarah Palin existed, and this reminded me.
You're so lucky because she comes up every so often here. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. You know, basically he's saying that like everything's going bad. You know, Congress has revoked the right to group assembly, presumably because of the Croatoan virus. Dean questions how Zachariah found him to transport him to the future, and he said that they've been having human informants. So the like apocalyptic preacher guy outside the hotel basically dipped him in.
3 days to see where this course of action takes you.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means that your choices have consequences.
He said, this is what happens to the world if you continue to say no to Michael, have a little look-see, and then he just leaves. The first of my questions, and you know what I'm going to ask?
Yeah, because it's the same questions I have, I think.
Do you think this is the future? Or do you think it's like a construct?
I think it's a construct.
Controversial. I don't know. Might be.
Just because. So I think, okay, this has two kind of things for me. I think at the time when I watched this, like originally, that yes, this was the future. This is the known future. Like, this is absolutely going to happen if Dean says no, keep saying no. Now, looking back, I think this is all a construct because of everything that happens after this. Like, saying no, like, surely saying no, no matter, especially with the line that Sam says, or Lucifer Sam says, like, you will always end up here. They never end up there.
You're so right.
It was all a manipulation from Zachariah, in my opinion. What about you?
I think I agree with you. But I think the intention was that it's supposed to be in the future. But I think subsequent writing, where they kind of made Michael and Lucifer pretty lame, makes this feel like a construct watching back. I think you're right.
And so the other reason why I think it's a construct is because the angels are so reliant on Dean saying yes that they don't come up with another plan until they, like, not realizing that they have other options.
That's true. Yeah, because, like, what happens in the end? There's Adam. So right. there was always another option. I mean, they might not know about it now, but yeah, you're right, actually.
So I think Zachariah, because obviously we're jumping way ahead, but like Zachariah assumes he's going to capture Dean at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And therefore force him to accept Michael, which is why I think this is all manipulation.
But then does Dean change the course of the future in reconnecting with Sam at the end also, thus making it like not happen anyway? Because it could have been, if this is the known future, that Dean does, because he does then reconnect with Sam, that the angels then have to go and look for another option, because I think it's never going to happen.
That's true.
Time travel, man. We've talked about it before. It's so
I feel
hard.
like this is the one that actually might have the paradoxal like implications.
Yeah, that because they sent him in forward to the future, and that then changed the past, which then made that future not exist anymore. Oh my, wait, yeah, you're right. Oh no, I hate paradoxes. I hate them so much. Also, like, it is worth saying here that you're right, because of later on, because Lucifer says, you know, we'll always end up here. I always believed that. Like, I always thought this is where this is going to end, right? That, you know, they're going to have this final showdown, and they'll end up in that rose garden or some equivalent of it.
Right.
That's all I've got to say to that.
I know we've said this multiple times with like callbacks for the last episode.
Yeah.
This would have been the perfect callback.
And they had all the players there, like, to do it. Michael and Lucifer were there in the last episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to talk about this later on because we're jumping way into the end of the episode or whatever. I do remember in the days leading up to the finale of Supernatural, like, people saying, like, what could possibly happen? What could possibly happen? And this episode was often, like, mentioned. People saying, that was the line though. They said, we'll always end up here. Like, we'll always end up. And yeah, I guess the point is that because of free will and family, you can change the course of history, right?
Yeah. But then at the same time, that line it's in my mind now, it's coming from Zachariah, who's always said that Dean saying yes is always going to happen. Just like Lucifer is telling Sam that it's inevitable.
He's the voice of destiny, which he's often said. And I think because of that is the reason that Dean's like, no.
Bump this. Yeah. It's definitely the intended purpose. Like, I don't know who Zachariah thought he was dealing with. Like, did he learn nothing from the monster end of this book?
No.
Like, literally everything. Dean's first plan in that episode was like, okay, it's opposite day.
It's so true. It's so true. They don't know him at all, do they? They don't.
No, they. No. I'm glad that they don't, because otherwise it would have been a completely different episode. Yeah. This had the potential to actually be the end of everything. Mm-hmm. With an episode name called The End. Like, you had it written. Come on,
man. Come on. You're so close. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about more as we go through this episode as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Lots. So, after Zachariah vanishes, the first place that Dean goes is to Bobby's, which, love that.
Of course, yeah.
He goes through, but it's absolutely like there's nothing left. It's completely trashed, and he just finds Bobby's wheelchair with a gunshot hole in it where his heart would kind of be. So yeah, Bobby's dead.
Oh no.
He manages to open like a hidden compartment above the fireplace, and he pulls out a journal. I originally thought it was John's journal, and I was like, why did they put it there? But then I realized it's Bobby's hunter's journal, and he has a photo in it of the camp.
Camp C.
The Camp C. In that photo is Bobby and also Cass as well. So he goes and finds that camp. Presumably he knows where it is. I don't know how he knows where it is because he has no internet. Like,
it may be that it's somewhere where they had actually gone together at one point.
Or like maybe Bobby had mentioned it, like, hey, if ever the apocalypse happens, this is where I'm planning to like ride it out. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a Bobby thing to think about. He comes to the camp and he sees people patrolling with guns, but he manages to kind of like get in, and he sees the Impala looking super crappy. Like, it's all just, the windows are smashed, it's rusted, it's like covered in leaves and stuff.
Oh no, baby, what did they do to you?
And then he kind of like hears something, turns around, and he gets knocked out. It pans up and we see the other Dean.
The other Dean.
Yeah, 2014 Dean. Mm-hmm. It's often been said by us that, the Impala is very much linked to Dean's state of mind at the time. So for him to find it smashed up, completely abandoned.
In disrepair, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like, this Dean, 2014 Dean, has abandoned all of his principles and anything that makes him kind of Dean, other than maybe his, like, hunter persona.
That's true. Like, everything, like, Dean has always made time to keep the Impala looking good. Yeah. Like, he's always made time for that. And with the apocalypse, he, I guess, sees no reason to keep up with the Impala, therefore not keeping his own mental health in any sort of... I mean, he's not great in that department anyway, as we know, but even less so.
Yeah. And, it's not needed for the apocalypse. It's an impractical car. It's a gas guzzler in a place where, you can't get gas. So...
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. It is kind of interesting that they're left alone by the government in this sort of situation. Like, they're essentially a militia.
Yeah, I know, right? Because they're armed. They're like, I guess because, like, they just got other things to deal with.
Yeah,
the hordes of zombie people.
That is very true. So Dean wakes up and he's handcuffed to a ladder in like a really uncomfortable looking way. Like his arms weaved in between two like rungs of the ladder. I don't know why that stood out to me, but my shoulder was just aching watching him. Anyway. And then we get a lovely conversation between the Deans.
Yes, this is so good.
So, and there are some great one-liners in this.
In fact, why don't you give me one good reason why I shouldn't gank you right here and now? Because you'd only be hurting yourself.
Dean, we already know that you do, just like not in conventional ways.
So true.
Yeah. So 2014 Dean has tried all of the stuff to verify that he is human, and he's shocked that he has the same like equipment, hunting equipment. Lockpicks, box cutter, switchblade, and he wants an explanation, and Dean just says Zachariah. Dean clarifies that he's from the end of 2009, and that Zachariah took him from his bed and threw him 5 years in the future. 2014 Dean wants proof that this Dean is him, and for some reason says that he has a panty kink.
Again, you know, like characters get defined by certain things, and like for Dean it's like pie, and again like in the fan fiction world it's pies and panty kink. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Hey, like, God bless Rhonda Hurley.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking back to being 19 and having the confidence of asking like just a person that you're trying to sleep with to do what you just asked. Like, that's wild to me.
She's an amazing person. I want more backstory on Rhonda Hurley. Like,
she's not 19. She's a cougar. She is a cougar. She is probably in her 30s.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it is.
Because you're right, the confidence unparalleled.
Yeah. There's absolutely no way that you'd ask someone of your same age at 19 to try on underwear.
No, not unless you're like super chill. Yeah.
No. So there you go.
Yep.
The fact that 2014 Dean just says touche, it's just like, wouldn't you say something else?
I also love that this is a core memory for them.
Yes. That's the thing that I guess because he probably told nobody.
No, well, of course. It would too much like, it's not in line with his macho image, right?
Right.
Can you imagine Sam would bring it up every single time they ever had an argument?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I just can't get that image out of my head. Like, underneath all of his hunter garb is just a pair of pink satin underwear.
Yeah. Why not? Hey, whatever makes you happy.
And apparently it does.
Coronavirus, right? That's their end game. It's efficient, it's incurable, and it's scary as hell. Turns people into monsters. Started hitting the major cities about 2 years ago.
I want to know what happened between 2019 and 2012.
I don't think we ever really find that out, what happens in those couple of years. Presumably, not kind of...
I guess there'll be little things, right? Because he says it start hitting major cities. So maybe it was hitting like, their usual sort of outskirt towns and slowly spreading, and then it got to the big cities. And
I think it would have been 2 years of like the last episode with like Sam laying low or something. Oh no, because he said that he was going to go kill the devil, right, before this happened. So it would have been 2 years of Dean doing his own thing, hunting, and maybe like eventually getting more and more wrapped up in apocalypse stuff, and Sam on his own trying to kill the devil until eventually they have their showdown in Detroit, which does happen eventually.
That's true. So that's what 2014 Dean says. There's a heavy showdown in Detroit. and Sam didn't make it. And Dean says you weren't with him. And it was revealed that he and Sam have not spoken in 5 years, at least 5 years.
So presumably in this universe / construct, that phone conversation that they had was the last time they spoke.
And that kind of makes sense with how Dean ended that phone call.
Yeah.
He just said, like, goodbye, Sam. Like, that was it. And if you're a Sam at that point, you take that as, all right, well, I'm being kind of rejected.
Well, yeah.
2014 is going to leave. He has a mission that he has to go do. And Dean is just going to have to stay there.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to be freaking people out because they're already, like, freaked out. Again, there's another amazing line.
Oh, come on. You don't trust yourself? No.
Fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Dean impressively managed to pry like a nail out of like wooden floors.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. I mean, I guess it's probably in disrepair, so maybe. But still, like, your fingers would be absolutely torn to shreds.
Yeah.
And he still has pristine, like, hands.
That's true. I always thought their hands should be way more beat up than they are.
Yeah.
Just dip them in some dirt.
But, like, how are you supposed to show, like, calluses and stuff, though?
That's true. Just dip them in some dirt. Dirt covers everything.
As Dean gets out of the cabin, Chuck approaches, and Chuck is explaining that the whole thing's kind of going to pot.
We're down to next to nothing on perishables and hygiene supplies. People are not going to be happy about this.
Dean, being Dean, just sort of makes jokes about it all.
Yeah.
I thought that Chuck clocked him straight away, like knew that wasn't the Dean that he knew. But obviously that's not actually the case.
Unless. See, this is where, okay, right. This is where the whole future, or is it not the future, comes into play. Because if it is, I hate having to bring this up. If it is the actual future, Chuck's still God. If it's not real, then the Chuck that he just ran into isn't God. But then we're going back to, does Chuck know he's God? Look, I don't know if I can go there today.
It's too much to think about. But no, yeah, you are right. See, the way that I would... Okay, so in my mind when I was watching this, he was Chuck. He was Chuck. He was God in this. Yeah. And he just put himself in there because he likes to put himself in his stories.
Yeah.
So he's just playing along, even though So that's why I was like, oh, he's clocked him because he's God. And then he's playing along that he doesn't realize that that's not actually Dean, but he actually knows what's going on here. And because Chuck wants all of this to happen. Like, he wants the Michael-Lucifer fight to happen. So this manipulation actually works in his favor.
Yeah, that's true.
So him playing along, like, he could be plucked out and put into this timeline.
Yeah.
Or like just put himself in it, just be like, I'm gonna edge him along. Because I mean, again, we saw that with the monster at the end of this book, and the other episode, which the last episode of season 4. I don't know why the name's slipping my mind, but that one where he's always like, "You're not supposed to be here. You know, I didn't write this. I didn't see this." So him coming in and just dropping himself in feels very Chuck-like.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if there was a bit like gonna be a reference to him like not being a prophet anymore or something in the apocalypse. That would be really interesting if there's like a cutscene, because that would kind of add to the like God's gone, angels have gone kind of feel of everything.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because there wasn't much reason for Chuck to be there, you know, other than like someone they know. Yeah,
he's not really a fighter. He's not a people person. Like, he appears to be a people person in this.
Yeah.
But, like, the Chuck that we've seen so far is a recluse. So why would they have saved him?
Would it have even crossed their mind to be like, oh, go get Chuck?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it would.
As compared to, say, like, Ellen or Joe. But
right.
then, I guess we kind of also know why they aren't there, maybe.
But does that happen in this?
Oh, that's true. Ah!
So many questions, too many paradoxes.
Yeah.
Ah.
The real answer was Rob Benedict was available to come do it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I appreciate him being in there because he does have one of the best lines in the whole series, which hasn't come up yet, but it's great.
Yeah. So a woman named Risa comes up and tries to attack Dean because he was in another woman's cabin.
Yeah.
What? Did I?
I thought we had a connection.
Risa should have been in another episode.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
I'm not sure I said this at the beginning or not. I know I said it before. I think we said it before recording. But like, how cool would have that been if she showed up? Even in season 15, when they're starting to gather up all of or in Apocalypse World or something, like, she should have made a comeback.
And it could have been such a good thing because Dean could have recognized her. Obviously, she doesn't know who he is. And then Sam's like, do you know her? And he could have said, we have a connection.
Right? That would be amazing. Amy's writing the best lines.
Hey, I should write Supernatural. Oh, dear.
Dean says, oh, geez, I'm getting busted for stuff I haven't done yet. He then asks Chuck where Cass is, and he points towards a cabin. We get to the cabin, and it's like the most famous Cass. Well, not the most, but just a version of Cass that I don't know how I feel about it.
Right? I have things to say.
Yeah. So Cass is sat in a semicircle, giving very much like a make love, not war speech, essentially.
Yeah.
Cass spots Dean and gives him a wink, which, when you've had that wink directed at you, you know what it's just like, it stops your heart a little bit.
So true.
So they have a little bit of a back and forth. Oh, he says that, why didn't you go wash up for the orgy? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Which I will point out that in this timeline, I guess washing your clothes in not a washing machine doesn't make them clean, because everybody's clothes are super dirty.
They are. Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah.
They're all grimy. I get that's probably not a lot of electricity and stuff like that, but people used to wash their clothes before.
Or go, if you're raiding for food, just go raid a thrift shop.
Another question.
Yeah.
Or idea. Mm-hmm. So in all of the Apocalypse movies, right, the army surplus store is always apparently full because everybody has their clothes and equipment from there.
So true.
Give me the zombie movie where all of those shops are completely ransacked and there's nothing left, and you have to go to the couture stores and the high-end places because that's the only clothes that are left.
Yeah.
So you have all these
I'm fighting zombies in my Louis Vuittons.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not going to pick up, I get that the looting and all of that, the selling of, is going to be probably, that's why those shops are going to be empty first for money. Mm-hmm. But how funny would that be if they could get to that kind of story and be damn, the only clothes that are available are these $6,000 shoes and really impractical clothing because it's high fashion.
Amazing. Yeah, I like that idea. I want to see that. I do want to see that. Because you're right, they're all wearing army jackets and stuff, but they're all really beat up.
Mm-hmm. So canvas bags and all that kind of stuff. It's yeah, it can be that movie.
Yeah. I see that.
Strange. What? You are not you. Not now you, anyway.
And Dean wants him to fly him back. Put on his angel wings, fly him back to his calendar. And Cass says, I wish I could, but I'm sorry, no dice.
So I was talking about this again before we recorded. We talked a lot before we recorded today. Either Misha can grow like a scruff of beard like well quickly to film this, or they must have filmed this completely like at the end of the season or something for him to grow that, because his hair is his hair longer or just not like styled like Cass's? I think
it might be longer.
I think it might be longer. Okay, that's a convention question. When did they film those scenes in season 5? Like, when? Did they do it right at the end or at the beginning? Like, what happened? I want to know that.
Is that why it's August? Like, they put the date August because that was when it filmed it?
I don't know, maybe.
Like, before the hiatus.
Yeah, possibly. Also, like, Misha gets to show off his, like, yoga skills in this too, with, like, the stretching and the, like, sitting in, like, a half lotus, which I've always thought was quite funny as well. Also, he does drop the Cass voice slightly as well with future Cass, I noticed.
Going back to this being Zachariah's manipulation of everything, it shows what Zachariah thinks of Cass.
So true.
That he's so weak-willed, or he thinks he's so weak-willed, that he just becomes a stoner when he's abandoned, which is not the case whatsoever.
Well, this is it. Like, he fully gives into that, like, hedonistic human lifestyle, right? And he's cavorting with the humans. You're right. Like, Zachariah completely doesn't think much of Cass at all. He really thinks he's cavorting with humans. So in the future, why wouldn't he be, like, running orgies and stoned out of his mind, right?
We then come outside because a Jeep arrives and it's the hunters who've come back from a mission. They're sort of toasting the victory of the mission. And then 2014 Dean shoots one of the soldiers. Dean tries to warn the soldier. And then, like, his 2014 Dean's companions are like, what the hell? This bit of direction or, like, camera work, whatever, when 2014 Dean says, I'm not going to lie to you, me and him, cuts to Dean, cuts to Cass, and 2009 Dean looking at Cass.
It's a pretty messed up situation we got going.
I'm sorry.
I told you.
What are you supposed to make out from that?
Launch 1,000 fics. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know, the situation they have is pretty messed up. I noticed that too. Like, the camera, it's good. It's great. I can only blame Ben Edlund.
Well, would he have been on site for this?
Hey, I think
know.
that's surely right. It just fit like. It's good. It's good.
It is very good. 2014 Dean carries on to say, believe me, when you need to know something, you will. Until then, we will have work to do, and they will, like, disperse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cass giving in to all of his urges. Because, okay, so, you know, what you're saying with Zachariah thinking he already
got down and dirty. Yeah. Right. So why not? In this fantasy that Zachariah has created, yeah, totally.
He's seen the white writing on the wall.
Yeah, it's the end of the world, man. You're gonna be sleeping with everybody. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. And like as well. Oh, Amy, why? Didn't Zachariah said he's sending Dean there for 3 days? We only see like about 30 minutes of the time that he spends in that camp.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe a day.
We can assume that it took a day to get from maybe, let's say it took a day to get to the camp.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll go with that.
And then he's knocked out for like half a day because it's nighttime.
That's true. Yeah.
But there is missing time.
There's always missing time. It's supernatural.
There's always missing. Yep. There was missing time.
Got to fill in those gaps.
Yep.
Some good old fanfic.
We go back into the headquarters of where Dean was originally held, and 2014 Dean wants to know what's going on. Like, why? I love the fact that they both say, "What the hell?" What the hell was that? And we really get to see the differences between these two Deans.
Yeah.
One is a ruthless leader who will do anything to get the job done. And we see this more as the episode goes on.
Yeah.
Because he explains.
Because after a few years of this, I know. I started seeing symptoms about a half an hour ago. Wasn't going to be long before he flipped.
See, this is another thing that Zachariah got wrong with Dean, in that showing how ruthless he would become and his disregard for human life is not something that you should show Dean. He doesn't want to believe that he has that in him.
The thing is, though, it is also like completely right, isn't it? This is Dean without Sam.
Yeah.
So it's a Black Mirror. Hey.
Dean's sort of saying, like, wouldn't it freak out your people that you just shot somebody in front of everybody? He's like, actually, it's more seeing you that would freak everybody out. This kind of stuff we do all the time.
Oh my God, I just realised something.
What's that?
Future Dean killed Bobby. He was shot. He wasn't like eaten by croats or like killed by a demon. He was shot.
Yeah.
Totally happened.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I'm filling in some gaps here, but like, yeah, he was definitely killed by a human. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really sad. That's really sad. I hate that.
Sorry.
That's fine. So 2014, Dean is like, no, look, this isn't your time. You don't make the decisions, I do. So when I say stay, you stay.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not trying to mess you or me, us up here. I know.
So Dean says it's been a wacky weekend. Well, he's been there for like a day and a half. He's still got another half weekend to go. Dean asks what the mission is. Now that because he heard that he was on a mission, so he's asking what it was all about. 2014 Dean has found the cult. They're going to go kill the devil. It's taken them 5 years, but they finally got it. And tonight I'm going to kill the devil.
What I noticed is because, like, obviously Dean in 2009 is trying to find the cult. They very cleverly here don't give away its location for him to go find, because they say like it's been moving around to everything, so he can't then use that information to go back to 2009 and then find the cult.
That's true.
Yeah, because I thought that as well. I was like, oh, they're just going to tell him where it is and then he'll just go find it.
Some reason I thought it was destroyed, but I guess not. I don't remember what happened to the cult.
The demon stole it. Ruby stole it. Ruby or Meg stole it.
Or was it Alistair?
No, I think it was Ruby or Meg. Why don't I remember? I think it was Meg. I'm calling it. It was Meg. Tell us what happened, because I'm not going back and watching it now.
Yeah, because at one point it does get destroyed, because there's a whole thing of them going back in time to get it.
Yes.
Wait,
that's this season, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know anymore. It doesn't have the right amount of bullets and may or may not exist, so it's fine. This bothers me this as well. So they are on the headquarters, and they're talking about the plan to go kill Lucifer, and everyone's there now. Like Reese is there, Cass is there as well. 2014 Dean says that if anything can kill Lucifer, this is it. And they're asking like, well, how are we going to find Lucifer? There's a bit of snark between Dean and Risa, like they're ganging up on like 2014 Dean, because like 2014 is like, you're all right, because she's being like well off of him, and Dean's like, oh, apparently we were in Jane's cabin last night because and we used to have a connection. Anyway, despite that, 2014 Dean says they don't have to find Lucifer, they know where he is. They caught a demon last week, and although they're like, well, was he lying? Dean says no. 2014 Dean says no, he wasn't lying. And Cass pipes in and says,
fearless leader, I'm afraid, is all too well schooled in the art of getting to the truth.
Dean's outrage. He says it like I don't know, they stopped drinking Coke and now have started drinking Coke. I don't know, like that kind of like habit. Mm-hmm. It's like, so we're torturing again, are we? He said, no, that's good. It's classy. Mm-hmm. I think this has to be flippant because it's so telling of how far this Dean has fallen off his morals, you know, sacrificing people, his friends, family, torturing people. Yeah.
Dean, not 2014 Dean, has already pointed out that family and love is going to be used against him. So he doesn't have those connections anymore. Like, I don't even see him and Cass really being kind of good friends in this.
No, not at this point. Like, you imagine that maybe they, you know, tried to stay friends for a bit through the 5 years or whatever, and through Cass, falling from grace. But their relationship in this is very interesting. It's almost like Cass will still do anything for Dean, but he almost is a bit resentful of the fact that he feels that way about him, that he'll do anything for him. And whereas Dean just seems to have no regard for him now whatsoever. Like, again, cut that bit out of his life of family and caring about people, because you're right, it's a weakness.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And I mean, it's kind of it's somewhat implied by the fact that I kind of skipped over this, but Dean says to Cass, "Oh, so you're a hippie now?" And Cass's response was, "I thought you stopped trying to label me."
Yeah.
So it's just sort of showing that Dean cares about what Cass does now, but in 2014, he doesn't care.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It's he's trying to almost make himself less human in order to do the thing that he needs to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a really good character study actually of Dean, of seeing who he, when he's lost all hope essentially that anything's going to turn out all right, what happens to him, because he says oh, I've got to look after these people I'm looking at, I'm trying to save a camp full of people, whatever, but actually he doesn't really care about any of them. They're like a means to an end.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're like, yeah, quite a paper on this.
the emotional weight of this.
I know. It's hard.
It's not something that you want to see.
No, and people have written about this better than I can express it actually. There's some very good character studies of future Dean out there, and people have written. It's good. Mm-hmm. When Dean says classy at the torturing thing, Cass laughs at him, and 2014 Dean looks at him why are you laughing at him? And he says, what? I past you. Again, almost implying that they've had a kind of a different relationship. I feel he doesn't reckon it. He's a different person now to who he was back then.
Yeah,
differentiating them. So, Lucifer's in a certain place, and Cass says, oh great, it's in the middle of a hot zone. And although Dean's you saying, 2014 Dean says, you're saying my plan is reckless.
If you don't like reckless, I could use insouciant, maybe.
2014 Dean says, are you coming? He just sighs and says, of course. But then asks why they're taking Dean, because if anything happens to him, paradoxically, he should die.
Right.
But does he? Whatever, we're not going back into it. So yeah, then they get all ready to go, and then Dean asks why they're taking him. And 2014 Dean says, it's fine because Zach's looking after you. Dean realizes that's not the complete answer and asks again what's going on. And
you're coming because I want you to see something. I want you to see our brother.
What?
Thought he was dead.
So as we know, Sam didn't die in Detroit. He said yes. There's an echo here to something that Dean said earlier in the episode. So when Sam told Dean that he's Lucifer's vessel, he said, so he wants to wear you to the prom. And then 2014 Dean says, Lucifer's wearing him to the prom.
I did so they could do a callback. They could do a callback in within the episode, but apparently anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
I did like that. I thought that was a good line.
Yeah. And it turns out that future Dean, that's where I'm going with this. Future Dean, like, he doesn't know why he did it, but he wants him to see because ultimately he wants Dean to say yes to Michael. At the same time, he knows, because he's Dean, that Dean is never going to say yes to Michael. Despite saying everything here, seeing the world end, seeing Sam as Lucifer, he knows in his heart of hearts that he's never going to say yes. Because it's him, right? He can follow his thought process. Because it did turn out that later on, Dean did try and say yes, and then no one was answering. All the angels have gone. And still, 2009, Dean is saying there's got to be another way. And 2014, Dean says, that's what I thought. I was cocky. I never actually thought I'd lose. But and at the end he says, you won't, because I didn't, because that's just not us, is it? Ooh, the futility of it. It's so manipulative because, like, you having yourself beg you to make a different choice, that's like you've really dug your heels in and say, like, no, I'm definitely not doing this. I'm definitely not doing it. To have yourself like beg you to do it is it's tough.
The thing is, like, so you hear this sort of conversations of like, if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self and I'd say this, that, and the other. Seeing this, the reason why Dean would never say yes, even after all of this, is because he hasn't lived it.
Yeah.
He hasn't experienced it. He's just seeing it as like a window, basically.
Yeah, right.
So it's not going to affect him in the same way as the 2014 Dean who's lived this.
Yeah.
And who's looking back in time, able to have this conversation, but still like realizes that Dean has to go through it in order for it to actually make an impact.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, yeah, you can go back and tell yourself to do things differently without having the experience to know to do it differently.
Right, exactly.
It's difficult. So Dean walks out the cabin and Chuck walks up to him and says, so you're really from 09, which is just showing how quickly gossip must flow about in the camp.
I mean, I can't imagine there's too many people as well, so.
That's true, yeah. And he just says,
Some free advice? You ever get back there? You hoard toilet paper. You understand me? Hoard it. Hoard it like it's made of gold.
I can't believe this is still relevant.
I know. I mean, they've made like merch out this line now, as you said before. There's also like I think you can get like a nightlight with it on. Is that right? With like Saint Chuck saying, hoard your toilet paper. There's that one, isn't there? And there's another line. It's not in this episode, and I thought it was, about like gas being like $5 a gallon or something. And everyone's like, ha.
Oh, yeah. That was, or I think it was in season... no, I think it was the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, to elaborate. But yeah, hey, saw into the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Well done, Ben Edlund. I mean, we're praising Chuck here, but really, it was the writer who's looking into the future.
We've said this about Ben Edlund forever.
That's true. He's a time traveler.
Yes.
No. He was coming back in time to warn us of the panini.
Or he just really understands human nature and just like, if there's a slight issue, then people go absolutely nuts.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I like to think like, I'm making another Good Omens reference here, but I like to think Ben Edlund can see the future in the way that Agnes Nutter sees the future in like only flashes that he can't understand. So he like saw the empty toilet paper and was like, there must be something going wrong. I must warn the people, but I can only do it through the medium of supernatural.
I mean, so both of us were in the UK during the swine flu, and they've already made a reference to swine flu in this. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if swine flu had the same kind of impact that it did like the panini did.
Yeah. Chuck says, you'll thank me, mark my words. And then Dean's just like, bye, I'll see you around. And they get in the like truck and drive off. Cass is driving. Yes, Cass is driving, which is weird. That's why I'm saying it like, Cass is driving.
he is driving drunk and high. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. It's not good. No, it's not a good look.
No.
He takes some of those pills and Dean says, let me see them, and it's like amphetamines. He says it's the perfect antidote to that absinthe. Okay. Dean asks, like, don't get me wrong, Cass, I'm happy that the stick is out of your ass. Like, Cass smiles at that. I think it's quite funny. He said, but what's going on with the drugs and the orgies and the love guru crap?
Yeah, I went mortal.
What do you mean? How?
I think it had something to do with the other angels leaving, but they bailed. My mojo just kind of drained away.
He's already taken on, like, Dean's mannerisms, drained away, and I'm practically human, I'm all but useless. Last year I broke my foot and was laid up for 2 months. And Dean says, so you're human, well, welcome to the club. And Cass says, thanks, except I used to belong to a much better club. And now I'm powerless. I'm hapless, I'm hopeless. I mean, why the hell not bury myself in women in decadence? It's the end, baby. That's what decadence is for. Why not bang a few gongs before the lights go out? But then that's just how I roll. It's so un-Cass. I mean, again, from the last episode, we saw Dean taken to a brothel and him being really uptight. There's almost like a direct comparison to that, I think, that this episode came after. I always think this is why Dean gets so stressed out when Cass starts becoming human again, like later on in the seasons. Because he always goes back to this Cass who completely is, this Cass thinks he's completely useless. He's no good for anything except cannon fodder. So he's drowning himself in drugs and alcohol and like all that kind of stuff. And he doesn't want to see his friend kind of go down that path again when he goes human later on.
And again, I think this is Zachariah's perception of Cass as well, though, that he thinks that Cass would just give up. Like he would lose he would completely lose his sense of self, which I think is really interesting because I don't feel like it would be that quick.
No, I don't think so either. And we do, and again, like you see it later on when he does lose his powers, Cass doesn't just, like, he's still Cass, right? He's like, this version of Cass, it's a very jaded Cass, but he doesn't, there's something that's almost like not the same, I don't know.
And
yeah, go on.
even when he loves the bees,
it's
still a very different Cast to this.
Exactly.
Like there is a little bit of the hippie love, but it's not to the point of like he loves nature versus humanity, like humans in physical form.
And this is why I will forever be mad at season 9 when Dean kicks Cass out of the bunker, because he would never. Stupid writing. Terrible writing. Out of character writing. Stupid season 9. The worst season. Season 7 gets a bad rap. Season 9, coming for you.
Oh, I'm gonna love season 9.
It's gonna be no. It's gonna be 2 hours of me ranting at how that was awful. Also, did he learn this behavior from Dean? Because Dean was like, last night on Earth in the last episode, might as well go like get laid. Yeah.
I mean, and it seems to be the camp culture.
That's true. Yeah.
Which is actually kind of gross. Because we've just seen 2 men who, like, so Dean has slept behind someone else's back thinking that they had, and then Cass is like, all these women are mine, or not mine necessarily,
like
but like,
yeah.
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. It would have been less gross if there had been some men involved in that, like, that's an equal opportunity orgy. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Because all we've seen of the women in the camp is them just sleeping with everybody.
Which I think is just strange that Risa is like another reason why I think she should have come back is that she's in that meeting with with Cass, Dean, and Dean. Yeah. Like, she's clearly important.
Yeah, like a camp leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who is she? What's her backstory?
Yeah. I would like to have seen her later. That would have been a great callback. Great.
No.
Yeah. So they get to the place where they need to be, and they're all kind of camped out outside this building. And 2014, Dean says, "Look there, the second floor window. We go in." And Reese is like, "Are you sure?" And he gets them all. Then Dean gets them all to like check their weapons. He's very authoritarian. Like, they don't question him at all. And when he does, it's like, "'Cause I said so."
Right.
Dean takes him aside and says, "You're lying these people into me. Like, I know your lying expressions. I've seen them in the mirror." That's a cool thing to like admit to yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself, Dean. In the mirror. What are you saying?
Yeah. Like that line doesn't quite land as well as they think it does.
Yeah, exactly. So Dean says, like, "I don't seem to be the only member of your posse with some questions. Maybe I'll just take my doubts over to them." And 2014 Dean stops him and then says, like, "Look, this place should be crawling with like croats. Where are they?" And Dean realizes, like, it's a trap because they cleared a path for us to get here. Mm-hmm. If this was the future, I know this is like a whole Zachariah thing, whatever. I think that they didn't get the information about where Lucifer was from that demon that they tortured. I think that Dean knew that if he like ventured into a certain area, like Lucifer would come and talk to him. I feel like it was like premeditated almost.
The biggest hole in this episode for me is, what is Lucifer really doing?
Yeah, what's he doing?
Like, is he just going around killing people? Is that...
Yeah, no, I do actually understand the motivation here. It's that the Croatoan virus is specifically designed to wipe out humanity and leave the planet fine, I think, from what he says in his big old speech.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but that's too much work for Supernatural. They really, like, it's not often that you really have to think about it, so it's like the fact that it's not sort of laid out.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't say, like, this virus is specifically to wipe out. Like, it's surprising that he didn't just lay it out. You're right.
Right. Yeah.
They normally do spoon feed us, I feel, sometimes, yeah. So, 2014, Dean says, yes, it's a trap. And Dean realizes they can't go through the front and that he's basically sending his friends in as decoys so they can go in. You're right. I don't think it was pre-set up, actually, because there's too much work going on with sending people in as, like, decoys. Never mind.
Oh, man, something is broken in you. You're making decisions that I would never make. I wouldn't sacrifice my friends. You're right. You wouldn't. It's one of the main reasons we're in this mess, actually.
Which is interesting. And again, there's no reference to, like, what that might be. Like, who's he not sacrificed to get to this point? And yeah, Dean says, like, but they trust you. And 2014, Dean says, they trust me to kill the devil and save the world, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And Dean says, no, I'm not going to let you. So future Dean punches him out.
Yep.
So Dean comes to in a rose garden. There's, like, red roses everywhere. And there's, like, gunfire in the building. So Risa and Cass are shooting the place up and dying, probably. There's lots of lightning and stuff, like demonic omens about, like, they don't follow this through, which is a shame, because there's all the storms when Lucifer appears. And he sees 2014 Dean on the ground with a shoe on his neck, and as he, like, looks at him, the shoe shifts and breaks his neck, so future Dean is dead now. And then he sees that it's Sam, but all dressed in white, so we know that he's Lucifer.
Hello, Dean.
That's a great line. Yeah. Anybody who says it is, that's great. I will give props to Jared for this, because this is his version of Lucifer, and I feel like this one is very different to, like, all of the other portrayals that come after Nick. after Nick.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen much of Nick's Lucifer, and I feel like once his version gets established, that's how everybody acts as Lucifer.
Which is a shame, because I think they should have followed Jared's lead on this. Like, he should have been given the, like, first go at playing Lucifer, right? And then that should have been built on, rather than them building on the Nick version of Lucifer. Because now it seems like a little bit out of place here. But actually, I think you're right. I really like this version of Lucifer.
I do too. There's just a way of his like posturing of like, you don't see that again with other Lucifers. I love that we could say that.
Right.
This is kind of how Jared carries himself when he's possessed by angels, because he does the same thing with Gadriel.
Yeah.
He just sort of, his posture is better.
Yeah, because I think he plays Sam. Like, Sam stoops slightly, like he's always trying to make himself slightly smaller than he is, which I imagine that Jared's quite familiar with, being a tall person. Like, but as an angel, you wouldn't do that, right? Because you wouldn't care.
And also, presumably they have wings on their back, so you have to counter that weight, surely, with your actual body.
That's so true. I do think that this version of Lucifer, like, you can almost imagine the wings, you know, of like his posture. You're right, his posturing of flaring out or whatever. I'm surprised no one's ever done that edit. I've seen edits of it done for Cass. I would be interested to see an edit done that adds wings to this version of Lucifer. I think it would look really cool.
Like, I can imagine that they're massive. Like, they're even bigger than Jared is.
Yeah.
And like, not only are they like super high, but they also drape on the floor because he loves Earth.
Yes, exactly.
So why would he not want to be connected?
Oh, that's so good. And white, pure white, like his suit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Dean is staring at Lucifer Sam, like, in shock, essentially. I mean, he knew it was coming, but like, to see it's got to be different than like hearing it, which is what 2014 Dean was trying to do, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. It must be so weird in like Supernatural, like, to see people possessed by vessels and like you recognize their physical appearance, but like knowing that it's not them, it's really odd.
Yeah, definitely. So Lucifer's obviously clocked straight away that. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the wings thing.
Yeah.
If the angels have left and the mojo is gone, would Lucifer... No, yeah, he still has his powers.
I feel like at the point of the fall, Lucifer now gets his powers from hell rather than heaven. Again, making up lore as I go. I just...
Because we don't have those answers, so we got to make it up. So Lucifer says, do we call him Lucifer or Sam? What are we going with?
Lucifer makes sense, I feel, because it's Lucifer at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so Lucifer, because it's not Nick.
It's not Nick. Yeah.
It's not Nick, but it's Lucifer. So he says, you've come a long way to see this, haven't you? And Dean's like, well, go ahead and kill me.
Don't you think that would be a little redundant?
I love the way he says that as well. Like, it's so like dismissive.
He's so slimy, but like this persona that he never lies is like coming through with this because of everything that he says. Like, it feels true.
Yeah.
But is it?
It's very good. It's very good.
It's very good. Good job, Jared. So Lucifer says, I'm sorry, it must be painful speaking to me in this shape. Like, he's not particularly happy that he is in a meat suit, right?
Which makes sense if he despises humans, that he's been like forced to come down to their level on Earth and inhabit one of them because he hates humans.
Right, exactly. And that there's nothing, like, presumably he couldn't go back to heaven because heaven's no longer there.
Yeah.
So he is somewhat trapped
it's true.
in this meat suit.
Yeah.
But Henry says, but it had to be your brother. It had to be. And he tries to like reassure Dean by putting his hand on his shoulder, and like Dean moves back. And Lucifer's like, you don't need to be afraid of me. Like, be not afraid. You know, what do you think I'm going to do? And Dean says, you know, deep fry the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucifer goes into a spiel of like,
Why would I want to destroy this stunning thing? Beautiful in a trillion different ways. The last perfect handiwork of God.
like, again, it feels all true, but he resents God.
Yeah.
Like we just heard in the last episode that, or not the last episode, the 501, when he's talking to Nick, saying he's going to get revenge on, or get revenge for him. You know, it was all God's fault that this happened, that humanity happened. As in, like, he doesn't say that to Nick, but that's
that's
implication.
It's God's fault this happened. It's God's fault this happened to you because he created humanity. Like, that's basically what he's saying. Yeah,
like, it feels true, but I don't think it is true that he appreciates Earth in the way that he's talking about it. Because he goes on to say, you know, have you heard the story of how I fell from grace? And Dean obviously makes a joke. You're going to tell me a bedtime story. You know, my stomach's almost out of bile. Lucifer was cast out because he loved God and everything that he created. And then God created humans.
Yeah.
And he was then told to love humans because he was told to. And he's like, no, I'm not going to. Lucifer's like, I can't do that. You know, these humans are flawed, murderous. And for that, God had Michael cast me into hell.
Does the punishment fit the crime? Especially when I was right. Look what 6 billion of you have done to this thing. And how many of you blame me for it?
So he's basically telling the like Bible version of. It's really interesting because I feel like. I don't know. It's very interesting because I feel like they start off quite biblical and supernatural, and then I feel like at some point they deviated away from it. It's interesting that we never did have any sympathy for Lucifer in Supernatural. Like, he's always been a bad guy and was never a sympathetic figure, because actually, in the scheme of things, he was kind of the first one to exhibit free will and like disobey God, who we know is a dick, right?
Yeah.
So, if anything, this is why I feel like it's a shame. If anything, he could have been on their side at the end to like, but he does. There's the whole switcheroo thing he does where he turns out that he's working for God again. And you always think, did they not? I think this is the problem. Did they not want to give Lucifer a redemption arc because like it's a bit taboo? You know,
maybe, but at the same time, like I can't believe I'm defending it right now. But we also see the same characteristics coming from Michael.
That's true. Yeah.
Like the whole reason why they act the way that they do is because they want their father's approval. Yeah. That's it. So it is in line with their character to turn on humans, because now Chuck has turned on humanity as well. So it wouldn't make sense that they would align themselves against the thing that they've always wanted.
That's true. Like, they're almost going back to what it was like in the beginning, right before humanity. They're going to wipe them out, go back to being God's favorites. Like this whole little blip in history didn't happen for them.
Right, exactly.
Plus, if you want a Lucifer redemption story, just like go watch Lucifer. It's good.
Right. You'll get better outfits than this white suit. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and you'll see much more butt.
Much more butt. That's true. Much more butt. Much more butt on that show.
Dean's not falling for this sympathy for the devil crap, as he says.
What am I?
You're the same thing, only bigger. The same brand of cockroach I've been squashing my whole life. An ugly, evil, belly to the ground, supernatural piece of crap. The only difference between them and you is the size of your ego.
He is crying.
Right.
And it's just like, What do you think he's crying over?
I think it's seeing Sam, like, it's seeing Sam and knowing that this version of Sam is gone. Because if you think about the last episode, they saw what happened to Raphael's vessel after he left. So he knows that in this universe, no matter what he does, Sam is dead, right? Or gone. And that, you know, like he's saying, it's the same thing he's always been fighting, but in this universe, it won.
Yep.
I also think it's him knowing that he's still never not going to say yes. So this all might still happen. Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
Is that realization that, like, I'm looking at my worst nightmare and I still can't do anything about, potentially I can't do anything about it because I'm not going to do what they asked me to do.
Yeah. You know, knowing that his own personality, stubbornness is might cause this, I think. It's such good acting. And it must have been almost a continuous shot because his eyes well up continue. Like, it makes me think, it makes me do a comparison to Despair, where he's also crying, where you get that shot of him like almost crying, and then there's an immediate shot after where he's like full crying, so you know there was a cut. But in this one, it doesn't look like that. Either he was extremely good that day, like getting the tear level right, or this was a continual shot, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't feel sympathy for Lucifer. He's feeling sympathy, I guess, for humanity and like where they've ended up. And that all of this rests somewhat on his shoulders.
Yeah.
For not giving the answer that they want, but it's still not enough.
We're praising the acting in this episode, but actually I think Jared and Jensen have both been asked about this, and they both said that this is the best acting they kind of did in Supernatural. Like, they both said it was amazing. Like, you know, Jensen says Jared was amazing in the episode, and Jared said Jensen was amazing in the episode, which is really nice, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since it's like they're only, I mean, I guess the next scene is another scene that they have together, but like, yeah. I do kind of wish that we had more episodes of them separated and we see how they act when they're not together.
Yeah.
More so that, because we've only had one episode of them separated and the reunion doesn't feel as, I mean, we said it at the beginning, like we don't know how much time has passed. I think we needed to see more time pass before this episode.
It's like I said last week, they should have done 2 separate episodes, so it felt like more time had passed. One of Sam and one of Dean. I think it would have been better,
Yeah, I'm sure we'll come across an episode where they could have cut and
almost definitely.
Yeah. And we've also said that season 5 doesn't really have too many fillers, but there probably are some.
At least some, yeah.
Just because it's TV, like they had to.
Yeah.
So it would have just been nice to see that, to kind of get more of a feel of when they're apart, they make bad decisions, and then when they're together, like this episode is a culmination of what happens when they're not together.
Yeah.
Lucifer, Sam says yes. Dean becomes ruthless and loses his humanity essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it just would have been nice to see that happening in 2009.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, definitely we should have, like, it would have made a bit more sense to see them sort of edging towards that, right? And then seeing the final result of it, rather than just
exactly.
Sam cutting some lemons.
So much effort. Oh my god.
Better go say yes to the devil. I hate having an angel.
Yeah. I'm surprised that he only called him a piece of crap and not a son of a bitch. I honestly thought that was where he was going to end it.
Yeah, same.
But I feel like because he doesn't, it is so much more impactful. Like when he calls something a son of a bitch, it's almost like a throwaway, and like he doesn't really care about the thing that he's calling a son of a bitch. Whereas this is like, I feel like this is an actual attack.
Yeah.
At Lucifer.
Yeah, there's no humor here, right? There's nothing at all. He's completely meaning everything that he says.
Exactly. Lucifer kind of dismisses that. He says, I like you, Dean. I get what the other angels see in you. And he says, goodbye, we'll meet again soon. And he turns to walk away.
Pardon? You better kill me now, or I swear I will find a way to kill you. And I won't stop.
I know you won't. I know you won't say yes to Michael either. And I know you won't kill Sam. Whatever you do, you will always end up here. Whatever choices you make, whatever details you alter, we will always end up here. I win. So I win.
Like, this is such an amazing line.
Yeah.
It's so good, because this is everything that Dean fights against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, you know, this is Team Free Will, like, it's antithesis, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever choices you make, you'll always come here. Like, whatever you do. And again, we see that happening in the monster at the end of this book, that every choice that they made actually ended up to the point of the prophecy.
Yeah.
To then actually have this happen would have been...
It would have been so good. Like, no.
It would have been so good at the same... but they managed to... Like, so instead of it being Sam as Lucifer, it would have been Nick or somebody else, whoever. And they do actually kill him, so he loses. And, like, Dean saying, I win.
Oh, yes. This could, like, again, like, I don't even know how they would have done it. Like, you would have had to rewrite some series of Supernatural for it to happen, but for them to get back to that rose garden, and then, you know, again, Lucifer saying the same line, like, I win, so I win, and then Dean saying, yes, but you forgot this thing that happened, or whatever, and then winning. You're right. Oh my god, it was so good. I want the good Supernatural. I want the good one.
Like, make it so... Okay, I have a little bit of a rewrite.
Okay.
Somehow, Lucifer kills God.
Right. Yes.
He gets what he wanted, which is to kill Chuck, and... Because obviously he was trying to absorb Jack's power to be strong enough to kill God or whatever. I think that was the kind of gist of it. But so Lucifer manages to do that, or at least absorb Jack's power. He manages to kill God.
Yeah.
Start some form of apocalypse.
Yeah.
So there is this, like, humanity is starting to go into some sort of, like, craze. And obviously, if you look at the context of time, probably not the best idea, but that's okay.
That's true. I think you could write that in 2020. Yeah, you're right.
But, okay, well,
fine.
Rework that a little bit. And they end up in this place. And they've found a way to, like, they have Jack again. Like, they can do the whole fight all over again, but instead of having Chuck, it's Lucifer. Yeah. Lucifer is the one who's beating the crap out of them both, saying, like, you know, you should have said yes to Michael. This would have never happened.
Yes.
Like, and turning to Sam, you should have said yes to me. This would have never have happened. They're on the floor. He says, I win, so I win. And they say, actually, I win. And Jack's there. Boom. The end.
I want the good one. Annabelle, that's so good. That's so good.
And that way, like, you know, you don't have the whole Jack is now God. God doesn't win because God's already out of the picture. Like, yeah. I mean, as much as we love Rob Benedict and would have, you know, missed him thoroughly.
He's talking about it.
He could have been Chuck Prophet, not Chuck God.
He could have had a cool death scene, you know? He could have still been God and had a cool death scene with Lucifer doing that. It could have happened. Yeah, they could have done it. They could have done it. They could have done it.
But, I mean, maybe they just wanted to get away from this.
Why?
As in, like,
this was
this
the
version
best.
of Supernatural.
This is Supernatural at its peak. This is the best Supernatural. Why would you want to get away from it?
I don't know.
There are people that disagree with me, I know. They don't like this version of Supernatural. It's the best. Look. Hey. Well, look. If the Ackles are listening and they end up rebooting Supernatural, all I'm saying is that we are for hire.
I can't give you the nuances of like people's dialogue, but I can give you a story arc.
I'm more of a big picture kind of writer.
Exactly. We'll get script writers to come in to fill it in.
Yeah.
It will be a lot of Ben Edlund, and I'm not sorry for that.
No, I'm just going to have a whiteboard and I'll just circle things. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll pick out the key episodes that, need to be reimagined. Mm-hmm. And there you go.
There you go.
We'll give you 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a 3-season fix it.
Yeah, 3 seasons fix it. We can totally do it in 3 seasons. Absolutely. I reckon I could do it in 1. No.
Don't say that. And so it's a 3-season Netflix, because Netflix are like 13 episodes ish.
Yeah, that's true.
So
and they get to be longer if they're on Netflix too. I watched an hour and a half episodes anyway.
So the scene ends out with Dean saying that Lucifer's wrong, and Lucifer says, "See you in 5 years, Dean." And there's a thunder crash, and he disappears. Dean turns around, and Zachariah's there, and he sends him back to the past.
That's true. There's also a single man deer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a skill you have or a skill you learn? Does one eye naturally fill up with water more than the other? I'm going to have to go fake cry and figure it out, I think.
I guess so.
Yeah. It's always the same side. Anyway. Asking the big questions.
Yeah.
So Dean gets teleported back to his hotel room in 2009. We know it's 2009 because it's not all trashed anymore. I love this line. I don't know why I laugh so loud at this, because Dean says, "Oh, well, if it isn't the ghost of Christmas, screw you." Love that line. Love it. I want that on a t-shirt. I am the ghost of Christmas, screw you. Zachariah says, "Enough. You saw what happens. You're the only person who can prove the devil wrong. Just say yes." And Dean does ask if it's one of his tricks. He's asking the same questions we are. And Zachariah looks very like, the time is over for tricks, Dean. It's over. Give yourself to Michael. Say yes, and we can strike before Lucifer gets to Sam, before billions die. This is so Dean. He turns away from him. He's just like,
nah.
It is a very considering nah.
Mm-hmm.
He says it like he's almost on the verge of crying. There's a choked up, it's good. That nah is a very well acted nah. That's all I'm saying. It's good. And Zachariah says, "You're telling me you haven't learnt your lesson?" And Dean's like, "Oh, I've learned a lesson, but not the one you wanted to teach." And then Zachariah goes to get him. He's like, "I've got you now, boy. I'm never letting you go." Which suddenly gets really scary. It shows what they think of him. It's so derogatory how he calls him boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dean disappears, and Zachariah's like, "Son of a..." I love this scene so much. It's so soft. I thought Dean was going to hug Cass.
Me too.
I really thought, I'll tell you exactly what point I thought he was going to do it. So Cass is there, and he says, "Pretty nice timing." And Dean's so soft in his face when he said, he's like, "Pretty nice time." I'm doing it to Annabelle, but it's not coming through on the podcast.
We had an appointment.
Don't ever change.
That's when I thought he was going to hug him.
Yep.
Tragedy that there was no hug.
Absolutely.
Absolute tragedy.
Absolutely.
And Cass says, "How did Zachariah find you?" And it's a long story, but let's stay away from Jehovah's Witnesses from now on, okay? And then Dean pulls out his phone, and Cass asks what he's doing, and he said, "Something I should have done in the first place." Cass also teleports him to the same place that he was waiting for him. So he had been waiting there for however long Dean had been asleep. Do you think it was actually 3 days? No, it was 4 hours later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the hilarity of that, he's like, I'm setting my watch to 4 hours and then I'm teleporting Dean to my location.
So what's funny is that the idea was for Cass to go to... So this is also, again, playing into your theory that Cass pops in and out being invisible.
Yes.
So he saw this happening. I was like, oh, crap. I'm at the appointment time. I see Zachariah. Let me grab Dean and let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I think,
and then
he definitely pops in invisible before he appears, just to like scope out the sitch.
Yeah, exactly.
And like absolute optimum scaring potential. So we go to a bridge, and I actually said out loud, why are there so many bridges in Supernatural?
We've had this conversation too.
But why? Okay. Are they like some kind of... All right, here it's a metaphor for the bridging the gap of their relationship. Yeah.
Because it is always in this, it's always bridges when they're having these kind of conversations.
It's true. Yeah. They're literally building a bridge.
Yep.
Hey. Okay. So Dean's there and another car pulls up. It's also a classic car, which I like that they like lean towards that like naturally. Oh, I can't just like steal a Prius. Like Sam gets out of the car and Dean pulls out Ruby's knife and he hands it to Sam and he's like,
You should hang on to this. I'm sure you're rusty.
which, yeah, again, you said like, how long's it been? Sam's looking pretty guilty, I think. Or like, I don't know, something. Maybe ashamed that he's like given in and come back to hunting almost. Maybe it's that he's coming back in for revenge. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I have to think about that one.
Yeah. And Dean does apologise, and he's really trying because, you know, the lesson he did learn is that he needs to be with Sam, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to build this relationship back up, and he says, I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm whatever I need to be, but I was wrong. And Sam asks what changed his mind, and he says, long story, the point is, maybe we are each other's Achilles heel. Maybe they'll find a way to use us against each other. I don't know. I just know we're all we've got.
More than that, we keep each other human.
Yeah. And that's absolutely the case.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Sam thanks him and says, like, really, thank you. Like, I won't let you down. And Dean says, oh, I know it. You are the second best hunter on the planet. Oh, such a big brother thing to say. These last 3 lines.
So what do we do now?
We make our own future.
Guess we have no choice.
And then it's just a very hard cut at the end of the episode.
That is a choice.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess we have no choice.
Yeah. And there's no like music or anything either. Like it just goes straight black and then goes into the credits before the like credit music starts. It's so good. Mm-hmm. They're starting to build the foundations of Team Free Will, right? Understanding that they are having to go against destiny to win this. Mm-hmm. Which is awesome. I love it.
It is. But then I can only imagine what Dean would have looked like after hearing we have no choice. Considering the conversation he just had with Lucifer Sam, that every choice that they do make.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
And I never really thought back before, but like in the rest of this season, Dean's just going to keep looking at Sam, being reminded of when he was Lucifer and thinking like, I can't let this happen, I can't let this happen, I can't let this happen. Like, it adds an urgency to the season, I feel.
Yeah, he's already super protective of Sam, and that's the only reason why they're back together.
Yeah,
is because he needs to protect Sam at all costs and not let him be manipulated by anybody into saying yes, which is then really such a shame that actually I don't even feel like they get manipulated into saying yes. It was more like they had no other choice.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. They get backed into a corner both times, right?
Yeah.
Sucks. And you're right there about the protecting thing, because originally they separated because Dean thought he was protecting Sam by them separating.
Yeah.
And now he's like, well, that doesn't protect Sam because he'll go say yes to Lucifer, so I need to protect him by keeping an eye on him instead and killing the devil with him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. Oif. Oif. It's hard on the heart, is what it is.
Yeah. I can see why this is your favorite episode. It is a very good episode.
Ben Edlund, you done it again, my boy.
Exactly. Zachariah is an idiot. Can I just say that?
Yeah.
Kind of going back into this episode. Like, everything, because, I mean, Dean calls it out. He says, it's not the lesson that you wanted to teach me. And it was never going to be that lesson.
No.
I'm glad Zachariah is such a bad angel.
Right.
Because every time he tries to teach Dean a lesson, it never goes in his favor. Like, it's a terrible life. That didn't come across the way that he wanted it to. The offering of food and drink, like, it's not the things that Dean needed at that time.
But he's also like the perfect representation of angels because he consistently underestimates Dean.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't think he's as smart as he is. He doesn't think that he, is as moral as he is. He sees him as an animal. Like, he offers him food and the things that he thinks that he wants. Right? And it's very basic manipulation that he's doing that Dean sort of sees right through.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. I think Zachariah has such contempt for humans that he just underestimates him.
Yeah, that's true. And that ultimately becomes his downfall.
Exactly, yeah. Good. It's his pride, god damn it.
Yes. Yes. There are no powerful angels on human side.
No.
Like, the only one is Cass, and he's not Lucifer level. Biblically speaking, he's higher, but whatever.
Yeah.
Talking of supernatural hierarchy, like, Raphael doesn't like humanity. Michael's all for getting rid of humanity. Lucifer wants to get rid of humanity. All the upper angels want nothing to do with humanity. Like, I even think to, like, Naomi. She just wants it to go back to the status quo.
Yeah.
Where they kind of just leave humans alone and, like, let them be monkeys on Earth.
Which is why I have a slight sympathy for Lucifer, because it's almost like all the angels kind of hate humanity. He just said it.
That's true.
Right.
Well, he did the one thing you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to say the thing out loud.
That's true.
Use the inside voice.
Inside voice. Yeah. So true. Yeah. But yeah, like he's if anything, Lucifer is like the most representative of angels, right? Like the way he acts is how they all act. It's just that he got singled out. So you'd understand why he's mad at God, because ultimately he feels like everyone else was like talking around the water cooler about how humanity sucks. Yeah.
They just sucked up to God.
Yeah.
And didn't say it in front of his face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. There aren't really any higher ups. Maybe that's because it's like the soldiers, the lower down angels that end up spending time on Earth and amongst humanity. You know? Yeah,
I mean, so the only other angel that kind of converts over is Anna, and like she's not that high up.
Oh, and of course there's Gabriel.
Yeah, that's true. But he has fun at the expense of humans.
That's true. I don't think he actually respects humans, or like, even in this, when he does eventually appear, it's not that he wants to save humanity, it's that he wants to save his family, his brothers. Yeah. He doesn't actually care what happens to humanity. So yeah, your logic stands.
You have any other thoughts you want to add?
Don't know, I think I said it all. Oh no, one thing I never mentioned, the thigh holster. It's iconic. And I just wanted to just put in a moment for appreciation for Dean's thigh holster. Thanks.
Perfect. Why would the angels just leave? Which is why I think this is all Zachariah's manipulation, because the whole point is to have the apocalypse. It's just to to start the apocalypse and do the fight and all that, make paradise. So why would they suddenly decide? Is it pride that they realize that they're losing? So they're like, oh, better get out of this.
I think this is my thought on this. If this is the future, is that there was a window in which Dean had to say yes in order for them to still win. And then Lucifer basically got like too powerful that Michael thought he probably couldn't take him anymore. That's why he stopped answering Dean and they pieced out. Because I think the reason you said they didn't think they could win anymore. And they have other places they can go. Because maybe they just closed down heaven, like put the guards up to stop Lucifer invading heaven. So they just shut it off.
Yeah, they So the reason why I went really quiet is because I'm just thinking because you're saying they could go somewhere else. I'm just thinking of how they get to Apocalypse World. Because it's not evident that they can, each universe can just hop into each other. They really have to put effort into getting into each place. It's only God that can jump in between each one.
That's true, actually.
That is the actual future.
Yeah. That's
the actual future of Michael getting a vessel on Earth.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that apocalypse world, because it all gets completely destroyed. So if Dean had said yes to Michael, that was the outcome. Hey, I'm glad he got to see that.
So he gets an affirmation that he made the right choice by saying no constantly.
Yeah, good job, Dean. You made the right choice.
I think that was it.
That's good. We answered all of our questions today. That's good. I feel like this episode must have had quite a big budget because they have there's all these sets and stuff that they did for it. They didn't just go to some town. They had to wreck some cars and throw a load of dirt everywhere. Throw that fridge out of a window or whatever.
Well, didn't we say that there was another episode that was... Wasn't it last episode that was just basically two places?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So they
just siphon that money into this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please, someone ask that. Actually, I want to know when they filmed this. It might be on the internet somewhere. I'll try and find it after this, but I want to know when they filmed it. Did they film this at the beginning of the season, the end of the season, or did Misha just grow out a spontaneous beard?
Yeah. Yep. That would be good to know. These are the details we need to know.
And we get to talk about this episode again, and I feel like the actors like talking about this episode because it's a good one. Everyone got to display all their acting chops, They all got to play different people, which is always fun, right? So yeah, ask more questions about this episode. I like it. I like it a lot.
So next episode is Fallen Idol.
I'm trying to remember which.
This might be a filler one because it's got Paris Hilton in it.
Oh my god, I remember this episode.
I don't remember this episode at all.
I'll bring this up next week. I think I remember a convention question where someone asked Jensen, I think it was, what it's like to work with Paris Hilton. And he said that she was actually just he realised watching her that her whole persona as Paris Hilton is just an act, and she's actually just really normal. Because he saw her switch it on in front of a camera of
wow.
her going being Paris Hilton. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you kind of see that now. She's not, she doesn't act like that anymore.
Yeah.
When, I don't even know what happened to her. She just suddenly wasn't in the limelight anymore. She got her, I guess Kim Kardashian took over because they were in the same posse.
That's true, yeah. Took her over as, I don't know. What even is their job? Being rich.
Being rich, yeah. Right. I think maybe it was her falling out with Nicole Richie.
I don't know. The thing is, I have no problem with these people as people. Fine, do your thing. I just hate that they're famous because of stupid reasons.
Yeah.
Anyway.
with that, this episode is sponsored by Raycon. I'm just kidding. Because Ray J is the guy in the
yeah, I feel like the next episode is a filler episode, and I feel like it's real stupid, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so at the end of the episode, right, we're there.
Yeah, we can finish this episode. Let's do it. It is the end.
Someone has jokes. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art, and if you'd like to get it on a, it's going to say teacup, but that's not right. You can get it on a mug, just not a teacup. A sticker, what have you. You can visit our Redbubble store. You can also find us all over social media.
Hey.
On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. Search for the Escaping Purgatory podcast or Escaping Podcast on Twitter.
Hey, yes, that's right. So this week we ran from some zombies, we washed up for an orgy, and we met the devil. So hopefully next week we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.